I don't know. هي جلبية هذا لا. استغفر الله العظيم ليش هذا؟ لا 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 لا.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. Our panel session will start soon, so can you please take a seat?
ما حد طالبك.
Just to remind you, we have a Q&A session right now. So please keep your questions to the end. We'll be
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This session will be discussing the biggest difference in the energy sector. Gap between ambition and reality. We all have heard about the bold net zero targets, the massive investment commitments, and the rapid advancement in the clean energy technology. But we're facing a more complex reality. I'm Turki Al Musaidi, a decarbonization engineer at Tokyo Alternative Energy, and I'll be moderating this session for you today. So without any further ado, let's welcome our panelists. From the left, we have Haytham Al-Bashir, a process engineering professional with over 12 years of experience across major oil and gas projects, from concept and FEED to execution and commissioning. He currently serves as acting lead process engineer. Flying from Salah, we have Arwan Adeli, Arwad Oman International Scholar, and currently a process engineer at WPI with a background in chemical and process engineering. She brings a fresh engineering perspective to the energy transition. Last but not least, we have Khalid Beidani, an energy excellence engineer at Tokyo Alternative Energy with over 6 years of experience in energy efficiency and energy projects. We'll start with you, Haytham. I think that we all have what is meant by energy transition. Thank you for the definition, Haytham. Now, more into the topic of this session with you, Rawan. When we talk about energy transition, where do you see the biggest gap today between ambition and operational reality?
Hello, everyone. When we talk about energy transition first, I think for organizations like OQBI, for example, and I would think also for many other organizations, energy transition or a significant part of energy transition is not just about renewables. Maybe, as Haytham mentioned, it is a great part of it, but it's also not the whole story. I think that when we talk about energy transition for organizations and in the current state that we are in right now, I think maybe it's more about doing what we are already doing, but more efficiently and with a lower carbon footprint. And I think then gradually integrating into lower carbon solutions. And that happens with time as we go, as we gradually integrate and get new solutions, new technologies, and basically maybe when it becomes more technically and operationally viable for us to embed it into our operations. And so when we talk about the gaps or the gap between ambitions and reality, I think one of the biggest gaps is timing, because we know that ambitions and targets often move very fast in comparison to our operational systems like infrastructures, assets, and even people. They tend to take a little bit more time to adapt safely and reliably. So maybe to add on to that point, maybe closing that gap would require us to get into more realistic roadmaps and prioritization of this topic of energy transition, as well as real commitment for execution of plans that we commit to for energy transition. And I think that from my perspective, it's not really about slowing down ambition, because ambitions can be high, but it has to be matched and in direct relationship with our execution plans. So we cannot really plan or hope to get to something that is not feasibly or realistically feasible for us. And yeah.
Thank you for that, Rawad. You touched on a very important point, which is road mapping. So, Sultan, what does a credible transition roadmap look like from an operator's perspective?
I think that's a very good question. So I think the best way to look at an energy transition roadmap for any organization is to have it phased. So I think that the first pillar that we should start with should be energy efficiency, because we need first to optimize our energy use, optimize our process and our energy consumption as a first step. And then beyond that, we then need to look into our energy source or power source, which is in most cases is just conventional energy. So I think that we then should look into renewable energy or greener energy sources in order to offset the conventional energy that we're currently using in our facilities. So I think having both of those two options, and after maturing all of the initiatives in this regard, I think then the final step is to look into the other solutions for emission capturing, such as CCUS, natural-based solutions, and other solutions in the market, which are more or less a little bit more expensive compared to introducing energy efficiency measures or renewables in general. However, for the emissions that are very hard to abate, I think that this would be one of the requirements that we need to do in order to be like carbon neutral in the near future. So I think that a phased approach towards energy transition, a phased roadmap would be very practical for the business. We'll make sure that we are aligned, and it will make sure that the targets we are setting can be achieved, and we don't overload our teams or our expenses in the process.
Thank you for that, Sultan. One big step in the energy transition is the integration of renewable energy. So, Haytham, what is the role of renewable energy in energy transition?
If we talk about the drivers of energy transition, the main driver is avoiding climate impacts, and as well as achieving decarbonization and net zero ambitions. So the renewable energies, can we use it as a main catalyst to quickly achieve sustainability goals? As I earlier mentioned, the first question. So each country is blessed by one source or another renewable energy, and as well as using renewable energy can create energy security region as well. If we talk in isolation of compared to the conventional source of energy, which are usually produced in certain regions, certain, and as well exposed to certain other areas.
Thank you for that, Haytham. Now, of course, for the energy transition, there are obstacles, there are barriers. So, Rawan, what are some practical operational barriers that are often underestimated when discussing the energy transition?
Maybe from an operations perspective, one of the most underestimated barriers is, I think, the complexity of the existing systems. Because if you really look into it, many of the plants and the systems that we have today have been designed decades ago. And at that time, they were designed for specific conditions, specific efficiencies, and specific reliabilities. They're not really flexible systems. They're not. They were not designed initially for the fast growing industry of technology, and so they were designed for a specific purpose, and they were not or were not expected to have many changes, such as like fuel, even small changes like electrification, fuel changes, or utility system changes. Even these small changes in any system can produce very high, you can say, what do you call it? A ripple effect in terms of process control systems and many other related process controls. So for older systems that are already designed for a particular thing, it's a little bit challenging to include or try to incorporate new changes into it after many years of operating under normal conditions. And so maybe that's one of the challenges that many of the industry organizations are facing today. And maybe related to this topic is also a technology readiness, because I guess in today's world, I don't think we have any lack of technology readiness. We have a lot of innovations today, but a lot of these innovations that are coming up more recently, they're not really scalable at this point, and they may also be designed for to resolve a specific solution or a specific problem. And so they're not integrated, they cannot be integrated into all of the systems generally. Like, it's not a solution that fits all, basically. So maybe technology readiness is also another barrier that we're facing in energy transition today. And maybe one of the major energy transition barriers that I want to mention is the data quality and monitoring, because I think at this stage, lots of our targets and ambitions are based on strategic targets. There are ambitions that are strategically preferable, so we would want to achieve this. However, we do in some areas, we do lack in some areas. And what I mean by that in terms of data quality and monitoring, because if you don't have the appropriate and accurate instrumentations and data that you are using to figure out the current state of the organization in terms of energy usage, then your target or your ambition is based on numbers that you are hoping to get to, but you may not realistically be able to get to, because your numbers are not really accurately representing your organization's actual energy usage. And so maybe this barrier specifically regards or references the requirement for our targets. And when we need, and when we set our ambitions based on specific targets, they need to be realistic, not only on a strategic, level, but also on an engineering and an operational level. And also, maybe lastly, I'll add one more point. One of the things that could be an underestimated barrier is the people and capability of the facility. Because if you're trying to integrate into lower carbon systems, that means that you are planning to create major changes in your plants, which means that a new set of skills would be required, new operational procedures, and so on. And that means that the current people and the capabilities you have should be able to also adapt to this change in the same level as your ambitions. And
yeah, thank you, Rowan. You touched on a very important point here, which is data quality. And we see now companies are moving toward digitalization, AI, and automation. So, Sultan, what role should digitalization and data quality and automation play in making the energy transition more practical and measurable?
I think that's a very good question. So I think let's start with digitalization, for example. So what digitalization does is that it gives us the visibility over our processes. So we understand what are we consuming, where are we consuming it, and how is our process running. So it is a very key element, I think, to be introduced to the older systems. And then going into the data quality point, so having credible data is essential because you can look at it from multiple angles. So you can look at it from emissions point of view to ensure that we have accuracy in terms of our reporting. You can look at it from even implementation point of view. So after implementing any project, how would we then verify that it's achieved the purpose, it achieved the savings, emissions reductions? So this is why also data quality plays a big role. And then I think the final aspect, which is the automation. So I think that systems like smart controllers and other tools that have been introduced to the industry and can be utilized in multiple angles, it gives us that understanding, gives us the ability to be proactive instead of just being reactive. So it monitors the system, it understands, it also can detect, like, let's say, predictive maintenance issues. So you can tackle issues before they arise and become a bigger problem to the asset and to your energy consumption overall. So I think collectively, we should definitely look into introducing these kind of available solutions to our existing facilities where possible and where already proven to be working. And we can use the technology in our advantage, even for automation and even the introduction of AI, as we currently have seen in multiple phases. So this is how I see that all three elements play a big role in our energy transition journeys.
Thank you for that, Sultan. There's another factor playing on the energy transition, which is the customer expectations and also investor pressure. So back to you, Haytham. How do market demand, customer expectation, and investor pressure influence the speed of transition?
Okay, this question will lead us to basically question supply should be equal to the demand. So if you talk about the demand side, if the customers are willing, for example, we talk about hydrogen, to pay premium hydrogen, green hydrogen prices, green ammonia prices, then the supply can be secured by the investors. So investors cannot invest without offtake agreements. So offtake agreement should be in place, for example, even for the future 10 years, so that the supply can meet the demand, which we have to be creative. I mean. And as well, if this is there, so investor can make pressure on developers, technology makers, to quickly make efficient technology to achieve sustainability goals.
Thank you, Haytham. And back to you, Rawan, on the ambition and the reality. So as we look ahead, how do you believe organizations can ensure that their energy transition efforts remain both ambitious and credible?
So I think that credibility really comes from focusing on delivering rather than declarations. And so when we really look into it, I think that for organizations, it means being transparent about what we are actually capable of delivering, rather than setting high standards and then not being able to meet these standards. And so also ambitions are very important. And I'm not saying that we should not be ambitious. That's definitely, because ambitions are the direction that we are moving towards. It directs us towards what we want to achieve. But I think that ambitions need to be grounded based on real data and real numbers, so that it can make or reflect better on the organizations and show them as more credible. That it can show them as ambitious and credible, with a level of credibility and a level of ambition that are both matching each other, so that you are not too ambitious to declare that you are aiming for something that you cannot achieve. And maybe note that I can mention about this is that if our ambitions match with our execution, then I think energy transition can be achievable, and it becomes more long lasting, and it comes, of course, with realistic timelines, and becomes more embedded into our continuous improvement, rather than looking at it from a perspective of it's a long-term ambition or something that we can achieve in, for example, the net zero ambition, we can say by 2050. It's a long-term ambition that realistically, if you ask any organization at this state whether they are capable of achieving that, the answer would be debatable or not, clear. So at the same time, what we can do right now is still, think about this ambition as a say a longer or a long-term ambition, and at the same time work towards it gradually with the facilities and the capabilities that we have right now, and slowly, I'm sure we can reach there one day.
Thank you, Rawan. Sultan, to your core expertise, what are some key areas the industrial sector should focus on to support the energy transition while optimizing operational energy use?
I think that's a good question, and maybe as I previously mentioned in the first answer, I think that a lot of entities aren't considering, let's say, the efficiency of in terms of their energy consumption as a big factor. They're mainly thinking whenever energy transition comes to mind, they're thinking about switching to renewables, and that's it. However, I think being able to focus on the process side first, optimizing whatever you have, is a key opportunity. And I think some examples of that can be like, for example, waste heat recovery. So I think that there is a big potential in Oman and in the region for waste heat recovery projects. And I think that the technology has matured drastically within the last few years that would allow this solution to be implemented and be feasible in multiple areas. So I think this solution is a great example where the energy that would have been otherwise wasted as an exhaust, for example, can then be reutilized and put back into the system, whether used in the steam process to generate more steam, or even to generate more energy for the facility itself. So I think some of these areas, like these kind of solutions, and looking into, for example, the off-grid sphere, where you have solutions to reduce your diesel by introducing, for example, solar energy, as well as battery kind of hybrid solutions. So all of these solutions kind of helps you achieve that reduction that you're seeking, but maybe that the industry in general, whether it's in Oman or elsewhere, haven't really invested as much time, for example, or maybe haven't looked at the broader picture of implementing these kind of initiatives. So I think, waste heat recovery and such projects are very key in terms of saving us energy, but we're currently not really, let's say, focusing on at the moment. But I've seen maybe there is a shift in the market, and people are looking more into these kind of solutions to help offset their emissions as well as their energy consumption.
Thank you, Sultan. So we reached the end of our session, and I would like to thank our panelists for sharing their expertise. And we're hoping that the topic is now more clear to everyone. I want to open the floor for any questions from the audience. Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. My name is Jabir Shraili. I am lead civil from video. My question is, maybe this is the question, the mind of a lot of people, why we need to talk about this topic at this current of time, energy transition, okay? If we have sufficient, for example, gases and oil, and it is not complicated to extract it, we have it in our own country, so why we need to move to another type of the energy? This is my first question. And my second question is, where we are standing now. Are we late, or are we within the global direction where we are standing so far? Okay, this is my question.
Who wants to take the question?
Is it your question to whom exactly?
Is it
Or
Whoever.
Do you want to take it?
I think I'll start and maybe the team can add to it. So I think with regards to the first question, you mentioned why are we looking into energy transition and introducing renewables. So I think energy security is a big part of it as well. Because, for example, renewables don't rely on a supply chain after the initial commissioning. So this is where, for example, these kind of solutions can help you be more independent. It helps you have that kind of sense of security that your energy demand can be met using your existing systems. And it's also a requirement because we as a country and also as organizations, we have commitments for, let's say, net zero targets. So you have to start at some point to be able to achieve your targets. I know it's a gradual sort of step-by-step process or roadmap, but this is where I see that the key element is that you having that flexibility in terms of your energy sources and diversity, and you also having the security in terms of your supply and demand for energy. So this is where I see that this is important. And the second aspect is the the net zero targets and your commitments as an organization, as a country, to the market and to the world. So I don't know.
If I may add to this, I agree with you that in the point that you mentioned regarding renewables, because of course we do have a lot of supply. We're not lacking in that regard, and we're not going to be lacking in anytime soon. But it's good to also have an alternative at all times, because we do have supply for oil, say, and gas, but there are also other factors that are affecting the markets, global demands and the other market factors that I'm not going to get into because I'm not really an expert in that. But also at the same time, maybe I want to point out that renewable energy is not the whole story, as I mentioned, of energy transition. When we talk about energy transition, we're really talking about reducing the emissions to improve our issues with the climate, basically. So when we try to reduce these emissions, it directly relates to our to a reduction in energy consumption, but it's not the other way around. So, for example, if we are reducing our emissions, it can be done through carbon capture units. And in that regard, that's not going to affect our production, because whatever CO2 we are producing, we're just capturing and getting it out of the atmosphere. So when we do have these units, it doesn't mean that we are going to have to reduce our production or change anything in that regard. So I think it's in some way it is related, but also you can avoid that topic in a way, because the whole story or the main subject of energy transmission is to reduce emissions. It's not about only renewables.
So I can add to this. So first of all, the subject of the exhibition is about sustainability. So if we talk about oil and gas, so these are part of natural resources. So they are not only for us; they are also should be sustained for the future generation. So that's why we're talking about the reduction in consumption of oil and gas. So the second thing the colleagues talked about is energy transition, net zero, and climate challenges. So we all care about the climate. So we want to reduce the impact on the climate by introducing new energy sources that don't harm the environment. They don't create CO2. And as well as in the existing infrastructure, we find solution to how capture CO2. The third point, as well as my colleagues here, they talked about is energy security. So we earlier mentioned that each country, each area is blessed by one sort of renewable energy. So they can have self-energy generation to maintain their local energy supply by the renewable sources. Thank you. And second question, I think it was about
Where are we at
we
now?
are where now? Okay, we are not late. As the technologies, my colleagues have mentioned, they are now emerging very fast. So if you talk about solar panels, energy, what you call it, wind turbine, they're getting cheaper, and as well as their new emerging battery technologies and becoming cheaper, they can push the energy transition fast.
Thank you. I hope that clarifies. So, any other questions? I think we are closing the session. So, thank you. We appreciate. Thank you for sharing your experience, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Appreciate it. Thank you. خلاص هذا سكروا. Okay.